Bones will rattle, stairs will creak. Your outcome's looking pretty bleak. Thunder booms and lightning crashes, leaving boots filled with ashes. As we lay you down to rest, we read the pages of the Dead Man's Digest.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Dead Man's Digest. I am Darren, and with me tonight, Nina.
What's up, what's up?
And Travis.
Hey.
Hey.
What's going on?
What's up? Alright, so we are back from yet another fun-filled Halloween weekend. We did Shallow Grave.
Fantastic.
On Saturday night. We'll talk about that in a second. And on Sunday, we went and did an Unmasking the Horror tour at Universal. Mm-hmm. Photos not included.
Well, one house.
Yeah, for the most part. And got some really good ones out of that one. Travis has been posting on Twitter, so good job on those, man.
And
Thank
he
you.
got to do also the RIP tour, which was pretty good.
Yeah. So, alright, so let's start off this one with an interview I did earlier last week with the creator and owner of the Shallow Grave, Joe Phillips. And then we'll go into, right after that, we're going to go into our first impression reviews right when we got out of the houses. So let's go ahead and start that one. Okay, hey everybody, I'm here with Joe Phillips, owner and operator of the Shallow Grave, an independent horror experience in Winter Haven, Florida. Welcome to the show, Joe. How you doing?
I do all right. It's been a long couple weeks getting ready for opening this Friday.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about the Shallow Grave and how it came to be.
The Shallow Grave started out as a lot of them do actually as a home haunt that eventually gets shut down by our bureaucrats, and you know it's hard to just get rid of the haunt bug, so you look for a place to expand, and then we found a place that we thought would work. I've been to a lot of other attractions, and you know the whole "if you build it, they will come" isn't necessarily true, but we've seen some places out in the sticks, and it's, you know, when you're trying to lease a place year-round, which is what we do, in order to build the elaborate set, it costs a little bit more than just, you know, throwing something up 2 months in advance. So
definitely.
That's where the pitfalls came in, trying to get a place we could keep year-round. And then the Shallow Grave's 2 attractions, it's just about 12,000 square feet. We've got room to grow, of course, so we're hoping to do that in the near future. But it's based off our main character, Thaddeus Van Buren, and it's, the second attraction is loosely based around some of the consequences and repercussions and waves, you know, from his actions. But we've got a couple more in the concept phase. We're even considering possibly putting Thaddeus in mothballs for a little bit to do some custom work and recreate the character. So we've got something that's a little more proprietorship and independent. I mean, so other attractions don't necessarily look like our main character. Currently we're using CFX Boris mask for our character, which is awesome. But it's also gone pretty mainstream. So
yeah,
we're looking to possibly move away from that here in the near future.
Gotcha. Yeah, and those masks do look very realistic. Nina's my girlfriend and co-host here. We came out last year actually. It was our first time checking it out, and that makeup work and those masks are amazing out there. Very, very cool.
Yeah, the masks are great. Here in Florida, not so much. They're a little hot.
Yeah, I bet.
But it is easier, of course, you know, when they don't get torn. You got a great makeup job done in about 30 seconds. You know, you throw them on and you're good to go.
Yeah, definitely. So, in your opinion, what sets you apart from like the other horror events like Horror Nights and Hallow Scream?
Well, the difficult part is trying to express how you're different without necessarily starting a war with the big guys. It's a different experience altogether. We're a much more personal experience. We pull small groups through. Unfortunately, every haunted attraction experience is the same thing. You're going to have runners, and then you're going to have people that drag their feet, and eventually you're going to get somebody's peanut butter stuck in their chocolate, and then they're mad at you because you didn't spread people out far enough. Well, unfortunately, logistically, if you separate the groups too much, then you've got a 2-hour long line, and we don't want that. But I went to the Haunted Hoochie years ago, and I experienced a completely different environment, atmosphere, scare factor. Everything was different than what we were experiencing here in the theme park. And I just wanted to bring some of that to Central Florida. I know we haven't had anything like it since Terror on the Church Street, and I know we've seen a lot of people come and go. And in fact, I've experienced that it seemed like when I started there weren't any attractions available. Now one keeps popping up on every block. But we just want to offer something that's completely different. And, so when someone says you're better than this or better than that, it's not what we're looking for. We want to be a different show. It's a different attraction, a different element. We invade your space a lot more. Our actors are free to act and improvise and sometimes, work with our patrons through dialogue. Light contact is possible. You may get touched in some areas depending on the character, the way the flow traffic pattern is being done at that night. So it's just different as a whole. And you really have to see it to experience it, especially being here in Winter Haven and Polk County. It's a sleepy little town. People don't expect this level of entertainment here on a 2-lane highway. People are like, oh, I didn't expect it to be in a building. That's why we need you to come out, because once you witness it, everybody has a haunted house. And you can say, yeah, I got a haunt. And until you actually experience it, there are different levels. And there are spooky haunted attractions where it's great for kids and they've got happy ghosts and smiling pumpkins. And then you've got people that are just a gore fest and they want to throw things on you and ruin your clothes by the end of the night. Yeah. And then there's people that want to get into your subconscious and make you worry at night when you go home and lock the door. You double check to make sure the door's locked. That's us. we want you to really, for that brief moment you're on our attraction, and each one of our attractions are between 12 and 15 minutes depending on whether you run it or not. Right. We've had people tell us they got through in 2 minutes. Yeah. When I walk through at night just doing the inspection, it takes me 5 minutes to just walk it. So I don't know how fast these guys are running, but I didn't see Usain Bolt running through our haunting attraction.
Definitely.
But if you're really terrified of these things, imagine being trapped in a position for 15 minutes of something that you're really terrified of. I mean, the thought of that would drive me nuts. Luckily, I don't get scared in haunted houses, but we want you to believe for that brief moment that you're not safe, even though you completely are.
Excellent. And yeah, that creative freedom that you give, your actors in the houses makes a big difference. Like last year, we had a clown that took a liking to me and pretty much followed me through the entire house to the end. Kept popping out of different places all the way through. So, and that that is something that you definitely would never see at another place like that. So those kind of little personal interactions, I think, are definitely key for it. And like you said, that pulsing aspect as well.
Right. Well, because our show's designed to handle about 6. If you get over that, you'll mess some things up. A lot of our animatronics are run either by pressure pad or lasers. Mm-hmm. So we might put that pressure pad a few feet ahead of the group, so the first person will trigger it. Well, what happens when that happens is the people in the back of the group have already witnessed the first 2 people not see anything or do anything. Right. But what they're doing is they're setting off that prop to get the middle and the back part of the group, and that's why we ask people to try to stay together, which they don't like to for some reason. But if you stay in the group, everybody gets something, front, middle, back. We want to entertain everybody, and we have an actor for every 200 square feet of haunt. Oh, yeah. So, we've got a lot of interaction, and we've tried to turn up the volume, actually, in a lot of our rooms. A lot of times they say, well, you've got to have a dead room. You've got to have a drop. And we try. We normally rate our rooms on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the scariest, and it's really hard for us to get below, I think 2 is our lowest currently, and we've got some that 5 was the highest because that's what the scale is. But there's a section in Vengeance, Blood Moon, where you've got 13 scares in a matter of about 40 feet. Oh, wow. Roughly. So, I mean, there's a moment there where it's just constant bombardment from actors and animatronics and air blasters, and it's just bang, bang, bang. So we hope it works. We've done a lot of changes this year as far as remodels and scare tactics, and it's been our largest remodel to date.
Awesome. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit more about, this year's houses. Like you said, you have two houses, two separate attractions there to go through.
Well, the Pavor Nocturnus, that one's got our largest remodel. We really, really went to work on that thing. And it's just under 6,000 square feet. It's more of a phobia-based haunt, but we've twisted it up a little bit. And you find yourself dropped in a government human testing facility, and so you're kind of pitted right in the middle between the doctors who like to see what makes you tick, and then the patients who've had enough of it. So, and by the end of the night, you want to be committed yourself. There's some things in there that are really going to make you double take and ask, why did I come in here?
Awesome.
And then we've revamped Haunted Hills, which still stays pretty close to the Thaddeus Van Buren story. And, if you know anything about Thaddeus, he kind of had hard times after the Depression and was, having to bury the public, still helping the community. And he was the caretaker of the local cemetery. But back then they did everything. They did the embalming. They did the caretaking for the graveyard. They rested the bodies. They dressed them. They did all the coffin sales, all that stuff back then. And, well, after the Depression, they couldn't afford to pay, but he still felt like he was beholden to the community. So he did it as long as he could. Meanwhile, he was watching his own family starve. So he started to bury the bricks in the coffins and feed his family the deceased. So once his wife found out this was going on, season 1, she hung herself on the balcony. And she killed herself because she couldn't take any more of it. So it turns out with him doing this, the dead decided to rise and try to seek revenge against Thaddeus. And this year actually tells why they did that, because it turns out he come across a coven of witches and killed one of the coven. And the coven has actually cursed Thaddeus Van Buren, which caused the dead to rise to come after him. Well, they're not really getting to him. There's some scars from the battles that he's been in, but it's kind of been almost like a game for Thaddeus. He's been able to keep away. So now they've cursed him with a lichen curse. So now all of our graveyards fully enveloped with werewolves that are trying to get Thaddeus as well as some of the undead.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, yeah, with a backstory like that. I think that...
It just gets worse and worse for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. This year the event does, like you said, it starts this weekend, September 30th, and it runs every Friday and Saturday all the way until November 5th.
Correct.
Yep. So on Fridays it goes from 7:30 to 11:30, and then on Saturdays we got 7:30 to 12. But last ticket sold at 11:30, so still try to get down there a little bit earlier, for sure. And yeah, when even the drive out there, I'd say is a pretty nerve-wracking experience, because you get off the highway there, the interstate, and you're going down that street with no street lights all the way down, so it's kind of preparing you even before you get there for something interesting.
That's probably the biggest bummer. We're not in a very well lit rural area where there's a lot of retail stores and things like that. But getting a warehouse this size, we wanted to put it near Orlando. There's just not enough revenue to get a place of this size in Orlando or right off I-4. We are looking to currently relocate. But, obviously that's going to take some support from the public. We get out there, we can get it. Because, like I said, we've got 3 attractions that are in the concept phase right now that we would love to put up, but we just can't yet because we need to get up off that ground and still, try to get back some return on our initial investment. It's been difficult to this point, but we're getting rated, nationally we're getting recognized. Locally, we're still trying to crack that nut. And if I could say one more thing, that this weekend, in honor, we want to show some love to our law enforcement. All of the law enforcement, if you work in a police station, you're this weekend you can come out for free. We give you if you've got proof of employment for any police department, whether it be local or anywhere in the state of Florida, come on in, and we're going to let you have access to the haunted attraction for free on that.
Oh, amazing! That's awesome. It's awesome to do. If you're not law enforcement, tickets are $24.99 plus tax for both haunts. And the quick death pass is $39.99. I'm guessing that's the front of the line pass, right?
Correct.
Skip the queue. All right, excellent. And since this is primarily, we normally talk about Universal on the podcast, so I just want to let people know when you're coming down for Horror Nights, Shallow Grave is just about 40 minutes from Universal Orlando Resort down to Shallow Grave, so it's not a long drive to get down there, and it's definitely like Joe said, and like I'm saying, it's an experience unlike anything else you've done before. So. Definitely recommend you coming down. We've got a lot of listeners that come down, for weeks at a time around this period, to all the different haunts, and this is one you definitely want to hit for sure.
We've got some friends of ours that actually we've met. They come over every year overseas to see HHN, and from the UK and Puerto Rico, and they've got us on the list now. They heard about us, they came out, and they said now we're a mainstay for them. And, they look forward to it every year, which is pretty cool. When you get people coming that far over and you've got some love overseas, I guess we're doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. Well, once again, thank you for coming on, Joe. We really appreciate it, and we are really looking forward to seeing the event again this year.
No problems.
Yeah, so remember, you can get your tickets in advance at theshallowgrave.com. Okay, so we just went through both houses at the Shallow Grave. We had, first, let's talk about the first one first. Vengeance, Blood Moon.
Oh, God.
That was the first house that we went through. What do you guys think?
I'm terrified.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. The sets are really freaking cool. Scares everywhere. There's not really a safe place for you.
Yeah, it's a very intense experience for sure. And like I said, like I was telling you guys before, and like we heard on the interview with Joe, is like he gives them a lot of freedom to do what they want to do, and make it entertaining. So
Yeah, you don't know what to expect. It's nothing you've seen before.
Yep. So that first one was really intense, and I didn't think that they would ramp that up at all, but they did.
Way
with the second house.
Yep.
The second house is Paver Nocturnus, and that one you start off in like the swamp.
Yeah, in the bayou.
In the bayou, then all of a sudden you're in a hospital, and then you're in a prison, then you're in a psych ward. It's crazy how the transitions happen, and it happens like you don't even notice it's happening until you're already in the new environment.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Hard cuts between.
Yeah.
But the amount of detail that goes into these sets, I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
And the smells and the actors. I just left both houses clapping. Just clapping. It's all you can do. Just so impressed.
Definitely. And they're not afraid to scare you with big actors. Have the big guys come out and get you. Just an excellent job by everybody all around.
You have to come out here.
Yes, definitely recommend it.
Support them. It's amazing.
Yep. All right, and we're back. So, now that we've had a little bit of time to sit and process this and think about how scared we got.
Left ourselves.
Seriously, like that house had me jumping the entire time.
I haven't seen both of you jump like that in a house ever.
Yeah, I think that's the fastest I've been through some of these houses too.
Yeah,
I think I was, because you were in the front, Nina was in the middle, and I was all the way in the back. I think I was jumping on Nina's back a lot. So.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not used to this.
Like, get off me!
It was.
Yeah.
The more I tell people about it, the more I get excited, and I actually want to go back. It's just, definitely, I think you're going to put, we have the audio of the house coming in at the end of the show, so if you want to, stick and listen to that. And
viewer discretion advised. There might be some curse words.
Parental advisory.
But, again, I know
probably
we've already,
There'd probably be a lot of cuss words,
I'm
and
sorry.
me laughing maniacally, because apparently when I get scared, I just laugh through the whole place.
Yeah, but it's something different. I think, part of it is just the unexpected, right? Because you're going to this thing, it's not like a big corporate deal, so like anything could happen. The people that work there are all volunteers. The actors are not paid to be there. That means they just love scaring people, and that's just what they want to do. So you got those kind of people in a house, and like with very little restriction on their part, they are allowed to improvise. As you heard in the interview, they're allowed to improvise as much as they want.
Right.
And they're also allowed to light contact, so touching maybe grabbing your shoulder or doing something like that.
Ankles, my hair.
Yeah.
It's very easily avoidable though. If you don't want to be touched, it's something you can kind of scoot out of the way if you want to.
Are you dodging out of it?
Touched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I did a lot of that.
Yeah. There's one part in particular I know that if they wanted to, there was no way around it, and that was you had to walk around like shelves. There was like 3 shelves, and there was a person at the very bottom, and they like were just reaching out and grabbing legs and doing that kind of thing like as you went by.
Yeah, they're very good with kind of distraction scares too.
Yeah.
So like you'll be looking this way thinking something's going to pop out at you, and then you'll get hit with a super loud air blast. Those things will scare the crap out of you, man.
Yeah, and they did me for sure.
They have a lot of drop doors and stuff that people can pop out of that you don't expect. So yeah, it's constant, pretty much constant action. There's not really a whole lot of dead spots. There is a few, but that's just to catch your breath, man, because if they were coming at you the whole time, like, your heart's already beating like crazy when you come out of that thing.
Yeah.
I know, halfway through the first house we went through, I'm like, is it over yet? Is it over?
Yep, and as soon as we got out of that first house, Travis is like lighting a cigarette on the walkway on the way out. I was like, I need to smoke, man. I can't handle it.
It is just, wow.
Yeah, and Nina actually saw me jump up in the air and do like the cartoon character run.
No, I say
thing.
it's the Mario run.
Yeah.
Double jump and his legs kept going. I don't know how this big old 6-foot man did this. I don't know. It's magic.
Yeah.
But
they have some super effective scares in there. I would say the Vengeance Blood Moon one, that one was like the more like visceral, intense one. So I would actually start out with, if you're there, I would start off with the house on the right.
Yeah.
And then go to the house on the left. I can't remember names exactly, but the house on the right is a little bit less intense, but still awesome in its own right. It does a lot of really cool things. It's that I learned
from Unmasking. It's this term. One's more environment based and one's more like the scare actor driven. I feel the one that the one on the right is more, environment driven.
The one on the right, it plays more to phobias too, because they've got like spiders and snakes and stuff like that in there. So it's more of a phobia driven house. As I felt like the ones were more the one on the left hand side was more kind of like, almost seemed like a classic kind of character vibe kind of parts in there. There were kind of like gothic parts and stuff like that. So
like your haunt, like your standard haunt, like you'd expect, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of different kinds of like random elements put together.
But it worked. I mean, random, but it worked.
Yeah,
right,
for sure. Yeah, the owner met with us out there. We talked to him for a little bit. It was awesome. He's a great guy and
passionate about it, running it. I mean, he's there running it with his wrangling all the actors and this and managing the rain but even if it's something you've done before, not even if it's for people who've never done it before, because we did it last year, it's different. I mean, it's the same, but it's different. You're just improving and improving and improving. So even if it's you're listening, you've done it before, still head out there, support them. They're still wanting to do bigger and better things. So just it's different, it's better. Yeah. I don't, to be honest, I don't even. I feel like they've changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will constantly. And he doesn't want to put on the same show twice.
And I was impressed in that regard as well.
Yeah. Another cool thing that I think sets it apart are the actors out front of the place too. I wanted to mention that really quick.
Definitely.
Travis was going to take a picture with the gas mask guy, and he actually like grabbed him around the neck and like acted like he was going to stab him with his needle. They will get up close and personal with you. I had a stare down with him as well. They entertain you in the line. If you are waiting in the line for a while, they like to walk around the line. The zombies were great.
Yeah,
he took a liking to Nina.
Yeah, whoever plays those zombies are
staring at her for about 2 minutes straight.
Yeah, and Nina's like showing him her phone and her ticket to the place and everything, and he tries to take her ticket.
I go, no, brains that way.
And he's just like looks over there, like lunges, and he's like, okay, and he's like starts walking over that way. Like, like I said, it goes back to the actors having that freedom of improv and just being able to do what they want and have fun. Unfortunately, we had a bit of a freak storm occur while we were there. A monsoon happened. Like, it flooded up to like a foot in the front. Like, we were stuck on a platform wondering if we were ever going to escape.
This is where I live now.
But it's Florida, so 20 minutes later, everything was completely drained out and fine.
Well, shout out to the guy that went out there and actually had to clear the gutters with it.
Yeah, clear with a stick.
Flathead shovel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a shovel. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, they managed that situation very well and got everything running back again.
Yeah, at least everything's under an awning too, so it's not like you're out with no roof above you. I mean, it's a pretty big awning, so
yeah.
No, I didn't really see anybody other than running to your car. I didn't really see anybody out there getting soaked, so that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and yeah, just overall, definitely recommend it. It's something that I think we're going to be doing multiple times a year from now on. We're already looking to see like what time we have in our schedule to do it again. So,
yeah,
again, it runs till I believe October 31st, Halloween. Might be a little bit after that, but it's 40 minutes from Universal. So if you're here for Halloween Horror Nights, if you have a rental car or something, if you're not from in town, it is literally 40 minutes from the gates of Universal to Winter Haven. So
yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I'm about 20-30 minutes away from Universal, and the other way, and it took me like an hour to get there. So it might not even, if you drive at a decent pace, you could probably get there in 30 minutes from the attractions. So yeah, it's not a bad drive at all.
Moving on from that, we went and also did on the next day on Sunday, we did Unmasking the Horror tour. So
yeah, shout out to Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler,
best tour guide ever.
Yep. Yeah, that one was a really cool, super informative tour.
It's something I regret not doing earlier. I always thought, it's going to be too pricey, or, I'm going to see the houses anyway. I have a frequent fear. No, it's something, you're going to see these houses in a way you've never seen them before, especially if you're a big, big fan of Halloween Horror Nights, and you're really interested in, the design and the design aspect and what goes into why and how and when did they put this here, how do they make it smell this way, why, what, just everything about the house. I really advise you do this.
Yeah. Just to lay it out really quick and to get it out of the way, yes, photos are not allowed in IP houses anymore. It seems like it's going to be that way for the rest of this year at least, and possibly in the future. If some of the information that I heard is, hopefully that's not correct, but there's some rumor going around that because of that they won't have the tour anymore. Aww. But I'm going to talk about a little bit how it actually kind of turned out to be a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah.
So first let's talk about what it is. We did the full day tour, which starts at 10 in the morning and went all the way until about 4:30 in the afternoon. And that consisted of going into 6 houses. We spent roughly 45 minutes per house, so that tells you how much time you're spending. Usually your walkthrough of a house is no longer than 8 minutes at Horror Nights. I think with American Horror Story it's up to 10 to 12 minutes. But yeah, you get to spend 45 minutes to all the way up to an hour. I think we spend about an hour in American Horror Story. So you'll spend that time. You get an hour break for lunch towards the middle. We did 4 houses and then lunch and then 2 houses on our tour, but that's going to vary depending on how your tour was structured.
Yep.
Now, why I think the photos thing was, the no photo thing for the IP houses was good is that when we finally were able to take pictures in the last house we did, Ghost Town.
Yep.
That's all we wanted to do is take pictures. Like, I had a very hard time focusing on what Tyler was saying. Nothing against him. It was just like, finally I can take pictures. We want to hang back and get pictures with nobody else in the rooms and everything like that, which you'll see on Travis's Twitter. Some really cool shots. That there's no other way to get a picture like that unless you work for Universal. So
yeah, I totally agree. It's something we on the ride home we talked about, and in the end, I knew we were bummed about it. I really wanted a picture in, American Horror Story and Texas Chainsaw, but it really made us pay attention.
Yeah, it made everybody pay attention. You had like a very captive audience when we weren't able to take pictures, you know.
Yep.
I can't see like being able to take pictures in all the houses. That's all I think I would be focusing on. And I think the tour guides, I'm sure they're kind of frustrated about, you know, not having people able to take pictures in there, but at the same time they're probably like, well, cool, you know, people are actually listening to what I'm saying and focusing on me instead of, you know,
to babysitting.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, it almost makes me wonder if they have to fill a little bit more dialogue now, because you do have more people focusing on you before, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
luckily
obviously
we
you're
had
not...
an encyclopedia
yeah,
for a tour guide.
Exactly. Yeah, not just about the houses, but the history of the movie and, you know, just a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, you know, like you were saying, yeah, it would have been cool, but maybe you wouldn't have caught some of those nuances that he was telling you and different things like that. So yeah, you do focus a little bit more. You can't take the pictures, but like you were saying, Ghost Town, we were hanging back. Well, I was hanging back a little bit more than even you guys, because I was trying to get nobody in my shots, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Ghost Town, I mean, being that it's an original house, I feel like that one was a very good house to take pictures in, because it's a pretty big house, so you can get cool pictures with, you know, majority of my shots were with my super wide angle, and then I did some fisheye shots. So I felt like that one was a very good house to take pictures in if they had to choose one, because it was a lot of bigger open sets.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And being an original house, those are the ones that have the cool little Easter eggs too that you want to take pictures of. Like we found out, and being that one in particular just totally changed my mind
about it.
On
Yeah,
Ghost Town.
it was down on my list, but now after I saw it, I mean, I've heard the interviews with Michael Yellow, I've seen the videos, I've seen the walkthrough. I mean, I've seen it all. I still learn things I had no idea.
Yeah, it's awesome learning that story about. I mean, I don't know if you guys even knew about it, but I think I kind of briefly told you that dead person you see that's dead, and then the next ghost that pops up will be that person, and you'll see different things, like, you know, an axe in the chest, or somebody. The next person, if you saw the one with the axe hands, they don't have hands, or the prostitute scene, you know, don't know about that one. What happens there?
Yeah,
but,
you'll see.
That was a cool backstory for that house that I don't think a lot of people know about.
That's what really changed my mind about Ghost Town completely. Now when I go through again, I'm going to be looking for that. But also the art and design team, that's where they got a chance to throw themselves into the house, and they were on all the wanted posters in Ghost Town. So as you're walking through the sheriff's office at the beginning of the house,
right at the beginning,
all those pictures are the people that put this thing together every year. So that's really cool to, you know, give them a little chance to shine and see that. And other cool like little things like the notepad on the sheriff's desk. I want you, if you haven't gone to the event yet or you're going back, I want you to pay close attention to that notepad. Hopefully you can see it in the dark. Because it's got a list of recent inmates. They include Theodore Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, some very notable serial killers from the past.
Yeah, all your iconic serial killers.
Yeah, so that's a cool little feature that you will not see just walking through the houses. You know, that's something you might be able to catch one or two little Easter eggs, like, you know, we saw the burlap sack with Jack's face on it from the Carnage Returns show last year.
Yeah,
we saw that on our own, but, you know, some other detail like that paper is that you're only going to see that on Unmasking, or learn it from somebody that went to it.
Yeah, or hear about it somebody that went on it, and then
it's just something else in the houses in general, just that I was impressed about with the how clever they are to hide the spray tubes, the little water tubes that spray water at you. Because he was like, every time you step on one of those plastic, what is it called, the meshy floors? Yeah, you know, okay, you're gonna get sprayed here. But
yeah, it's like a non-slip surface.
Yeah, it's like, where are they hiding this? He's like, you see this tiny little bar where the mannequin is? Yeah, that's where it's. I'm like, oh. So it's learning all these little things and these techniques. Remember the technique to get people flowing through the houses?
Oh, scaring ahead.
Scare forward.
Scaring forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that kind of thing is cool, and it's also cool to see, like, in some houses, like the Halloween 2, for example, is one I saw where one scare actor can activate and go through like 6 different boo doors and entryways in one like little corridor that they're in. So that Michael Myers that you see, it could be the same Michael Myers popping out, for 4 different rooms.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yep.
And then seeing how actually like close everything is, together, when you're in one room and then you walk through and you pop one of those boo doors open and you see like, you think you're so far in, and because they're very disorienting. So you're so far into the maze and everything, and then it pops the door open. And it's like, oh, there's the entrance right there. It's like, what?
Yeah, it just goes to show you how good they are at using the space that they have. That's why these houses seem like sometimes they're longer, and you're like, how the heck do they fit all that in that spot? But they're pretty much mazes inside of mazes, pretty much.
Yeah, and like in Krampus, remember when we're going through, he's like, okay, look up. And it's the 3 little pigs, when you go into Shrek, then they're in the little containers. In the pre-show, I'm like, oh my god, you're in the house, you can look up and you can see them.
Yeah, but
it's
you just
insane.
never would, and you never associate it like normally.
I mean, inches away. Inches away from the props from Shrek.
Yep. Another cool little notable there in Krampus, since we talked about it, look at the snow globes. The snow globes feature some iconic things from Halloween Horror Nights past, including Shady Brook Asylum and a couple of other cool little things.
Yeah, that would be in Krampus's workshop towards the end.
Yeah, and in the room before that and in the workshop.
Yeah.
Pay close attention to those snow globes and see if you can see anything you notice. Also, pay attention to the schnapps bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a little Kim Grommel reference. The legend. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it's really an incredible tour. I highly recommend it. Even we were, of course, like everyone, we were considering canceling when we found out you couldn't take pictures, and I'm really glad we didn't.
I'm really glad we didn't.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I hope they can work it out, and maybe next year have that in consideration when they're putting together their ideas for the houses, and make it more like a 3-and-3 thing, where you've got like go through 3 original houses where you can take pictures and 3 IPs where you can't, or figure out the whole IP situation so you can take pictures in there anyway. But I kind of liked, like I said, that flow of just everybody sitting around in one of the rooms of the house and just listening to Tyler explain the house to us and explain this.
Some of them got a little tight though.
Oh yeah. Sometimes people are jammed in the back, so. We always tried to give everybody the opportunity to get ahead of us, but some people just wanted to hang out in back. So
yeah, but even then, sometimes some of those rooms, especially in like American Horror Story and stuff, were like some of the smaller scenes. You kind of got to move in awkward places and stuff. You almost got to get behind the tour guide and watch them from a different area. But that's another cool thing. You get to go in areas where you wouldn't normally get to step.
Exactly.
That's what there's a scare actor there or something else.
Yeah, that's what I use those for, like an opportunity to, get over to like the sides that you normally couldn't, and or just sit there in a boo hole and listen to them and be like, okay, this is where I would scare people from. This is pretty cool. Here's my trigger on the floor, and this is what I would do.
Yeah.
Step.
Get a perspective.
Yeah. And
too bad none of the triggers were working, though. I wanted to hear one of them with nobody in them. Yeah, he said power's all cut off, but...
It would probably be deafening as well, with like nobody in there and nothing else going on.
You'd be scaring the other tour.
Yeah.
We all had our phones out with the light,
flashlights.
The flashlights. It was so dark. Tyler, our tour guide, had a flashlight ready to go.
Yeah.
So maybe bring a little flashlight, because maybe not all tour guides will be comfortable with you having your phone out because the risk of taking pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I brought a flashlight. It looked lame, but couldn't see.
No, there were some houses that the lighting wasn't that good, but the majority of the bigger soundstage houses were fine. Like Halloween was probably the best lit one out of all of them. Like you could see every single thing in every scene. That and Ghost Town were probably the best lit ones we went to.
Yeah, because the other ones, like the ones in the Shrek building, a lot of those ones had ceilings on them. So really, the only light you had was the flashlight through parts of it. Exorcist was very much the same way for most of it as well.
That one was pretty lit up too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Yeah, all in all, again, highly recommend it. You're going to see a lot of things that you wouldn't normally see. You're going to have a lot of cool inside information that you can tell people about. I recommend going for a night and seeing all the houses before going on the unmasking tour.
Yeah, because there's a lot of spoilers. In there,
tons.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be everything.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I wonder, like, would it be cool to do that and then go through it at night?
No,
because I have done a media event in the past, and it was Silent Hill with the lights on, and then I saw that first, and then I went through the house with the lights off, and it was still really cool to see that. I kind of knew where to look for some cool stuff, going through. So I don't know, but I would still personally I would go through the houses one time at least, and then go on the unmasking tour, and then definitely go again afterwards so you can pick up on those things that you saw in the light and see it again in the dark. So overall, yeah, big 2 thumbs up from everybody, right?
10 thumbs up.
Definitely.
All right, well, let's move on from there real quick to Andy, our Hollywood correspondent, and his review of Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood.
Hey Darren and the Dead Man's Digest. This is Andy calling you from Hollywood. I wanted to see how you guys were doing and also share with you that this weekend, for the first time this year, I did go to Universal Studios Hollywood Halloween Horror Nights 2016. I know that you guys got Orlando covered, do a great job covering the event out there, but I thought you might be interested to hear about my experience out here on the West Coast, how the event's going here, the good, the bad, everything in between, and maybe even some helpful hints for people who are planning on going in Hollywood. I'd like to share that too. So, had a great time going on Friday with a couple of friends. I meant to record this review for you there at the event on location. Honestly, by the time the evening was over, though, I was tired and I completely forgot, and I went home, and then when I got home, I realized, I wanted to record this for Darren and the folks at UUOP. But the good thing about doing this at home is there's not any distractions, there's no chainsaws, there's nobody trying to murder me while I'm trying to share with you great information about Halloween Horror Nights. So we'll look on the bright side, and I'll be able to be a lot more thorough doing it this way than if I were doing it with all those distractions. We went on Friday night, and I will tell you, I guess we'll start at the very beginning in the fact that in years past, one of the struggles with Horror Nights here in Hollywood is it has gotten so packed, so busy, so crazy that, and you'll even read reviews online that say this, that if you want to do everything, you have to buy an express pass. Otherwise, you're going to do maybe half of the mazes and spend the rest of the night in line. That is sad, it's depressing, but honestly, that has been the case. They've packed so many people in that you're kind of left with that decision. I don't want to spend that much money on an express pass because it's considerable. And so we decided to take advantage of something called early entry. This is something they have done in the past, but this year they're doing it earlier than ever, and that means that for people coming to Halloween Horror Nights, you can get in the park starting at 5 p.m. with your Horror Nights ticket. Now, the event hasn't begun. In fact, the park is still open until 6. It almost works like Stay and Scream for Orlando. To an extent. That's the best equivalent I can give you. So, even if you have a Horror Nights ticket only, you can get into the park at 5, and you get a wristband, and you go all the way to the back lot where some of the mazes are, and some of those mazes open at 5:15. Now, the event does not start until either 6:30 or 7, depending on the night, but the mazes all the way in the back of the park open early for those of us who are taking advantage of early entrance. So there's no scare zones until 7. Some of the mazes on the upper lot don't open till 7. But this is a great way to get a jump on the evening and get some stuff done before the event really kicks off at 7 o'clock. I will tell you this, and to anybody who's listening who is planning on going to Hollywood, take advantage of early entry. Whatever you do, this is the way to do it. Because we got there at 4:45. We were let in the park at 5 o'clock. We got our wristbands. We go to the back lot. On the back lot, all the way in the back lot, there, number one, you do a lot of walking because you have to walk from the lower lot where Transformers is located all the way down to the back lot where this year the mazes for American Horror Story, Krampus, and Freddy vs. Jason were. But all those mazes opened at 5:15. There's also restrooms and food and beverage down there and a scare zone that's not open yet and hasn't started yet. But you go all the way down there, you pass The Exorcist on the way. The Exorcist is in the Mummy queue. And go all the way down there and you can hit all those mazes. I will tell you guys, we hit all 3 of those mazes, plus The Exorcist, plus Halloween. We hit Halloween twice. We hit Krampus twice. We hit Freddy vs. Jason twice. And Exorcist once and American Horror Story once. We did all of that by about 7:15, 7:30. So in the first 2 hours, we got 5 of the 7 mazes done, 3 of them twice. Made all the difference in the world because once you've gotten a jump on the event and gotten that much done that early, all the pressure is kind of relieved and now you can just relax and enjoy the rest of your evening. So worth it. And it doesn't cost anything extra. All it means is you just have to get there early. So that's what we did. We went down, we did American Horror Story, we did Freddy vs. Jason, we did Krampus, we came back and did The Exorcist and Halloween because we weren't sure. We wanted to take advantage of the short lines while we could. All the lines remained short at that point. By the time we finished the first 5, it was still only like 6:30. So that's when we were like, oh, let's do Halloween again, as long as it has a short line. And then we walked all the way back to the back lot so we could do Krampus again and Freddy vs. Jason again. And again, all of this was before the crowds from the normal opening at 7 p.m. made their way to the bottom of the park. So it made a huge difference. On the upper lot is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Walking Dead, and the majority of the Purge scare zone. And what we have in Hollywood here is called the Purge Gauntlet, which I'll tell you about in just a minute, as well as the Terror Tram, which this year is being sponsored by or brought to you by Eli Roth, who did the Hostel films and Cabin Fever. So that being said, and I can't recommend the early entry enough because we got everything done with time to spare and many of the things multiple times without purchasing the Express Pass. So biggest piece of advice, do this. My family is coming into town in a couple of weeks. I am taking them to Horror Nights. We're going to do it all over again because it's the best way to do it. So let's go through the mazes, shall we? So here, for this year, we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blood Brothers, The Walking Dead. However, this is the new year-round attraction that was built and opened over the summer. It's the same thing for Horror Nights. They just put more walkers in it, but it is being counted as one of the mazes. Take that as you will. Halloween, Hell Comes to Haddonfield, also known as Halloween 2. The Exorcist, American Horror Story, Freddy vs. Jason, and Krampus. I think this lineup is almost identical to Orlando with the exception of Freddy vs. Jason, because that was in Orlando last year, and then missing the original mazes that Orlando has. So that's our maze lineup. We also had the Terror Tram, brought to you by Eli Roth. And then a couple of the attractions are open. All of the scare zones in Hollywood this year are the Purge election year. So everything is Purge/election themed, mostly on the upper lot, but then they've created what is called a gauntlet, which is kind of like an outdoor maze, kind of, sorta, or you can consider it a really long, sprawling scare zone that has a defined path that you follow to go through. So anyway, let's talk about that. We also have one show, the Jabberwockies. I didn't see it. I didn't see it last year. I didn't see it this year. Just not that interested. It's a dance crew. Not that interested. So, I guess we'll go in the order they are on the map. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Blood Brothers. This one is on the upper lot. It is in the queue for Waterworld, the Waterworld show. The queue for this one is extremely misleading because you go up and you get in line. You're like, okay, it's got a good line, but it's not too bad. They're hiding so much queue inside Waterworld. So you go in, you make a turn, you think you're almost done, and there's all this queue that was hidden from you. The queue is considerable. Still, we got through it pretty quickly. This was one that we did last. And so this was the longest line we waited in. Because again, we hit so much before the event even technically started. This was the one that we had to just suck it up and wait in line. We waited about an hour for this one. Good maze. The facade is of the barbecue restaurant. It's definitely scary. We got lots of leather faces in there. Chop Top. It's interesting because it's kind of it's a weird combination of the original film and the sequel. But it was good. It was creepy. It was scary. Leatherface always freaks me out, so it did its job in that respect. Nothing really jumps out at me about this maze that I want to make sure I call out, but it was a good, solid maze. Next one, the Walking Dead attraction. As I mentioned earlier, this one was exactly the same as what is always there now. It is now a year-round attraction. There is definitely more characters inside than there are during daily operations, so it's a little more intense than it normally is. It's a really good maze, but I would say if you have done it already, this should be last on your priority list if you're here for Horror Nights. Not that it's bad, it's good, but you can do it during the day, and it's the same maze. It's just at night, there's probably, twice as many characters, which makes it better. But again, this one, I was shocked, had an extremely long line. My guess is it's because the attraction is still new from the summer, and a lot of people in the area haven't had a chance to see it yet, so they're seeing it at Horror Nights for the first time, which is a good time to see it for the first time. But I thought, because this was the permanent maze, this would have the lowest line, because people can see it anytime. But no, this had like a 90-minute wait. It was crazy. So definitely worthwhile, but if you can see it during the day, during normal operating hours, don't make it a must-do during Horror Nights, because everything else is not going to be there later. All right. Next one. Halloween Hell Comes to Haddonfield. This one was awesome. It was great. Now, if anybody who knows me knows that I am a sucker for the Halloween franchise and for Michael Myers, this one recreates Halloween 2 beautifully throughout. The facade is the house from the end of Halloween, so I think that would be the Doyle house. If I got that wrong, I'm going to be so ashamed. But you go into the Doyle house. There is Loomis shooting Michael Myers 6 times, because that's what he does. He shot him 6 times. And then you walk out the house into the backyard where, where Michael has escaped. It was really cool. They had a really nice thing where there's a fence, and on the other side of the fence, there is a figure of Loomis and the police chief talking about trying to find Michael Myers. They're not actors. They're just stationary mannequins. But with the audio from the movie, it was a really cool touch. And then you go into the backyard, and then into the hospital, and then you get all the show scenes from the movie. So you've got Michael holding the nurse up from behind with the scalpel. You've got the doctor with the syringe in his eye. You've got the security guard with the hammer in his head. You've got the nurse who was drained of blood. And it took me the second time to realize that, yes, the whole floor was red with blood. You got the finale where Laurie Strode shoots Michael in both eyes, and it was cool because they got the blood coming down on the mask and on the eyes. But then the ending was really unexpected, because you walk into this giant facade of the pumpkin that was the original movie poster for Halloween 2, and then you walk into this pumpkin and it all looks like pumpkin innards. And there's lots of mirrors, and it actually smells like pumpkin. It was really cool and unexpected. I really dug that. There was also, right before that, a black room, and everything was black except those pumpkins were all floating around, and of course some of them were on actors, and they jumped out and scared you. So this maze, awesome. Loved it. The Exorcist. The Exorcist maze, the facade is of the house. There is a mannequin of the priest standing out there, just like the movie poster. You go in. I found this maze to be there was a definite pattern to it. You walk in and it was you walk into kind of the foyer and there's the stairs and there's a Reagan, very crude animatronic, like spider walk down the stairs, which was neat. And then you go into a black hallway, and the black hallway you get scared by Reagan. And then you go into the bedroom, and there's a scene from the movie where like everything's flying around. Then you go into another black hallway, and this time you get scared by the demon. Then you go back into the bedroom, and this time another scene from the movie is happening. It's like the head spin. Then you go back into another black hallway, you get scared by Reagan again. Then you go back into the bedroom, and this time she's floating above the bed. Then you go into another black hallway, and this time you get scared by the demon. And it just repeats over and over and over again. I think they did as best they could do to make an Exorcist maze, and I thought it was actually kind of cool and trippy to just keep walking back into the same room, almost like you felt like you were going insane. So I think it was solid, it was decent, but I think that, yes, it was absolutely repetitive, so it wasn't the top of my list for the mazes this year. American Horror Story, this one was excellent. You go through the original Murder House, then you go through Freak Show, and then finally Hotel. All of it is well represented. I totally had flashbacks from the first season because it's been forever since I've seen it. Twisty the Clown is he's kind of the star of this from Freak Show. I feel like he made the biggest impact. It was interesting because between each season there was another little marquee that said Murder House, and then you walked in and you did the whole Murder House section, and then you walked into just a neutral space, and then there was another marquee that said Freak Show. So they broke it up that way. But this one was really good. I really enjoyed it. I wish I could have gone through this one a second time, but really good house, really long house. Freddy vs. Jason. This house I would call the scariest house. This one freaked me the hell out. Also very long, a lot of very cool effects. Very different than what was what they did for Freddy vs. Jason in Orlando last year. Hard to tell which one I would say is better, because they're both really, really good. This one, you walk into the boiler room. It is named Craven after Wes Craven, which I thought was a really cool touch. This one, I actually got injured because Freddy startled me, and my hands kind of did a little spaz, and it nicked Freddy's glove, and I got a nice little injury from Freddy's glove. So those things are actually pretty solid, pretty sharp. So be careful of that. But they did a nice combination of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. You go through the boiler room. They had the Freddy snake eating little Jason, and then another Freddy snake come out after you. Then you go into Camp Crystal Lake, and then you go into the house from Nightmare on Elm Street. And there is a moment, much like where they did with like Aliens versus Predator, where Freddy comes at you from one side, Jason comes at you from the other, you're stuck in between. So some cool effects as well. One of the effects, there's these walls, and they look solid, but then the lights turn on, and there's scrims, and behind those walls is a boiler, and Freddy's on one side, and Jason's on another side. Some really cool effects, but yeah, I think I got the most scares at this one. This one was terrifying. I don't know, they just placed the scares in just the right spot where they caught you off guard. It was really good. So really, really great house there. And it was one of those where me and my friends, we all saw it, we thought it was over, and it just kept going. So that was actually really cool too. And then finally, Krampus. The facade to Krampus was amazing. I probably took 100 photos of the facade alone because it was the frozen over house, and Krampus is just standing on top of the house. So cool. Something else I should mention is every year in Hollywood, one of the houses has a code word. And you have to look on Twitter. You have to follow the Horror Nights on Twitter, and he tells you what the nightly code word is. And there's someone out front of the house. You say the code word, you get a little prize. So in the past, like for Hostel, they had, like the Russian gals out front. You'd say the code word and they would give you a business card for the hunting company from Hostel. That was years ago. This year it's for Krampus. So out front of Krampus is the frozen delivery driver. And if you give him the code word, he gives you a Krampus Christmas card. So I got my Krampus Christmas card. Super cool. So those of you going, if you want a little take home, go on Twitter, look for the code word of the night, tell it to the frozen guy out front. He will give you the prize if it's the right code word. Then the house itself, this one I wouldn't call scary, but I would call just pure fun. Just totally enjoyable. Like you, Darren, I like the mashup of Scary Christmas. I think it's super fun. When I saw the movie Krampus, I knew it was just tailor-made for a maze at Horror Nights. The Krampus costumes himself, he looked amazing. They had most of the scenes. They had all the gingerbread men in the kitchen. I was a little disappointed. They didn't really move. They were all just stationary. They just kind of sat there. But they were doing funny things, and so it's worth looking at. They had the angel. They had the teddy bear. They of course had the Jack in the Box who was eating one of the kids, like in the movie. And then Krampus was everywhere. There was a moment where there was like a Krampus thing that kind of came out from the chimney at you. You go through the attic. This one was awesome. I loved it. Oh, you go through the yard with all of the snowmen, and a couple of the snowmen aren't what they seem. There's, right before you go into that yard, there's like a blast of cold air to make it feel like winter, and I just wanted to stand right there because it's still really hot out here. So Krampus, not super scary, but super fun and super pretty. Loved it. So for the mazes, here's how I'd rank them. I would put Walking Dead at the bottom, not because it's bad, because it's what's always there. I will say all the mazes were good. Like, there's not a single loser among them, so I got to give credit there. Then I would say The Exorcist, because it's good. It's as good as an Exorcist maze can probably be. I'm very curious to see what the Florida one is, but for this one, it was just a little too repetitive, and so it wasn't my favorite. Then I would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was really good. It was really scary. Nothing bad to say. Just my preferences lie elsewhere. Then I would say American Horror Story. Again, really good. Lots of variety in there. I definitely want to do that one again. Then I would say Freddy vs. Jason. Like I said, the scariest maze. Most scares here. Great, great maze. Then I would say Krampus, just because I'm a sucker for Christmas, and it was so fun and pretty. And then Halloween is number one. I don't know if it's the best maze, but because of my love for Michael Myers, it's my sentimental favorite. So sentimental favorite is Halloween, most fun is Krampus, scariest is Freddy vs. Jason, but all the mazes are really good this year. Nothing bad to say about really any of them. That takes us to the Terror Tram. So the Terror Tram this year, again, is hosted by Eli Roth. He helped come up with the concept. The concept is a killer clown is loose on the back lot with his clown friends. Not the most original premise you've ever heard in your life. But as you go down on the tram, they give you the story of Koodles the Clown, and then they call him, I think it's Hollywood Harry by the time you get off. And it's the same path as they do every year. You get off in Whoville, you walk through Whoville, you walk through the Bates Motel, you walk up the hill past the Psycho House, through the War of the Worlds set, and then back on the tram. It was fine. It was decent. Terror Tram, they change the theme every year, but it's pretty much the same thing every year. So it's always the same path. It's always essentially the same experience. The costumes change a bit depending on what their theme is. Last year it was The Purge. This year it's clowns. 2 years ago it was The Walking Dead. So it was walkers, then it was purgers, now it's clowns. But everything else pretty much stays the same. This year, I think that they gave a really admirable job doing some things on the War of the Worlds set that made you feel a little more transported, a little more propping, a little more like walking through like boxes and fences, so you're not just seeing the War of the Worlds set, you're feeling a little more contained. So they tried to mix it up a little bit, but if you've done it in the past and you are almost out of time, this is the thing to skip, because again, every year it's essentially the same thing. If it's your first time, you gotta do it because it's great to walk on the back lot. If you come every year like me, it's the same. No need to make this your top priority. So, but if you got the time, if you do early entry, probably worth checking out. And then finally, The Purge, The Gauntlet of Fear, and The Purge Scare Zone. Darren, I listened to your show. I hear you say enough with The Walking Dead in Orlando. That's how I feel about The Purge. Enough with the freaking Purge. I feel like I have seen The Purge at Horror Nights every year since the first movie. I'm over it. I don't think it's scary. I don't think it feels like Halloween. I think it's a lame theme. I'm just over The Purge. And this year, that's all they're doing for the Scare Zone is The Purge. So for me, Purge, bottom of the list of everything because I'm like, enough. We got it. Yes, purging, blessed be our founding fathers, blah, blah, blah. I've heard it all before. I've seen it all before. The masks change. It's still The Purge. Do something else. Do something interesting. Enough with The Purge. I'm done. So that is not to take away from the very talented performers who are performing The Purge. And I think the Gauntlet was kind of a fun idea. Again, it almost feels like a half quasi maze, but it's just more of The Purge. I'm just kind of over it. So there you have it. All the mazes are really great. The Terror Tram is decent if you and really good if you've never done it before. And then The Purge overall, I guess it depends on how much you like The Purge. But still, I think it was a really, really good year. I really enjoyed myself, but what saved the year and saved the experience was that early entry. I know I've said it like 10 times, but I'll say it again, because without that, if we had gotten there at 7 o'clock, we would have done probably 4 of the mazes, maybe Terror Tram, and then we'd be out of time, which is very sad. So take advantage of that, but overall, creatively, I think that the event is really, really strong. I had a great time. We had a blast there. Really well done with all the mazes. Interesting that they stuck one at Waterworld. That was the first time they've ever done that. Some of their operational stuff that they can work on, but at least they're trying to figure out ways to deal with the crowds. They've got that's really the biggest issue is those crowds. I think that is it. I have chewed your ears off long enough. It's been over 25 minutes now of Horror Nights Hollywood talk. But anyway, had a great time. I am going again, like I said, in 2 weeks with my family. So happy to go again. Really good stuff. Great job on the mazes to the creative team. Hats off on that. Terror Tram's a tricky one, it is what it is. And they try to mix it up, but it always just kind of feels the same. And the Scare Zones, I know you guys can do better. I know it. So really solid. Great. Thanks, guys. I am also going to be heading to Orlando at the end of the month, so it's going to be really fun to compare and contrast that event with this one, especially the mazes that have the same themes. It's always interesting to see how Hollywood approaches it versus how Orlando approaches it, because they're always very, very different. So that is it for me. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I had a great time at Halloween Horror Nights 2016. Big kudos to the team there. Hope you guys are doing well and can't wait to see you at the end of the month at Halloween Horror Nights 26 in Orlando. And until then, it's your pal Andy from Hollywood. We will see you soon.
All right, thank you very much for that, Andy. And that will be the end of the show here, so please remember to join the Dead Man's Digest Facebook group. Follow us on Twitter. That's at Dead Man's Digest, also at UUOP Darren, at Travis Terrell 12, and at NThompson91. And you can buy some merch over from us at redbubble.com/people/UUOP Darren. All right, we're also doing a giveaway on this show. We've got 2 of the official Halloween Horror Nights 26 lanyards to give away. And the question is, there is a house this year in a brand new, never before used location. Tell us the name of the house and the house's location. The first 2 to email us the correct answers will win Halloween Horror Nights 26 lanyards. Email them to us at deadmansdigest@gmail.com. Again, deadmansdigest@gmail.com.
Good luck.
All right. And for Travis and Nina and Andy and Joe, sure, why not? This is Darren, and this has been the Dead Man's Digest.
Grrr.